Hello. Welcome to Fundu Tester. Today we are going to discuss about a very interesting interview question, which is a constructor. So it looks very silly, but it is very vast topic. Why? Because we all know that there are multiple types of a constructor: default, private, arguments. It changes along with the access modifiers. There are multiple other features like a constructor chaining, constructor overloading. So this can be asked during the interview for a especially for a experienced candidate. And oops is a everyone know oops is a very tricky. So there are multiple areas. If you are using private constructor, then entire flow will change. For example, interface, abstract class, factory design pattern, the use of constructor will change. If you are using a constructor overloading, then how you can do your for a inheritance. If you are using a constructor chaining, then when we need to do the constructor chaining, when you will get into infinite loop. So there are multiple scenarios for a constructor. So in this we are trying to look into couple of the interesting area of a constructor, and we'll discuss with an example. And this video is sponsored by XLQ, so we'll discuss about XLQ as well. Before moving forward, don't forget to like and share this video with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe Fundu Testers.
Camera rolling action.
So let's move to the computer screen. What is a constructor? So basically constructor is a gatekeeper of a object oriented program. So whenever we have to create an object of any class, by that time constructor comes into a picture. So whether we are creating a constructor or not defining a constructor at a class level, but this guy is always there. A constructor in Java is a special method used to initialize object. It is called automatically when an object class is created. So for example, there are some rules for creating a constructor. So constructor should have a same name as a class. So for example, let's say I am creating a car class. So constructor's name should be similar to the class name, which has to be a car. And a constructor will not have any return type unless methods and automatic call. So a constructor is called automatically when object is initiated with a new keyword. For example, here I am creating a default constructor. Let's understand how default constructor will work. So here basically I have created a class which name is a default constructor. I have defined a couple of variables like a student name, roll number and mobile number. So let's say for example I am generating a getters and setters method for all this. I have created a getters and setters method, and now I am going to the main method and I am creating a object. So for example, default constructor con is equal to new default constructor, and I am defining some value. So for example, con dot student name is equal to Nishant, and I am printing this student name. So for example, print out con dot student name. And now I'll run this code. So it will print a basically student name. So I'll run this code, stop and run. So here it is printing a student name, which is a Nissan. So if I wanted to print something else, let's say I wanted to set some other value, let's say student dot mobile number is equal to 98989898 something, some mobile number, and let's say roll number. I wanted to assign some roll number. So roll number is let's say 1. It's an integer value. So I need to define without a colon, and I wanted to print all these values. So again, I need to do con dot student name and con dot roll number and mobile number. So I'll run this code. So it is printing all these three values. So this is basically a default constructor. If we are not creating any constructor, but we have created an object of that class, so Java has internally created a constructor for this particular class. And now so this we have seen the type of a constructor, which is a default constructor. And now there is a one more, this is a parameterized constructor. So for example, we are passing a parameter to the class. So for example, I have created another class which is a parameterized constructor, and I have defined two variable, which is the length and breadth. So for example, let's say I wanted to calculate the area of a rectangle. So I'm passing basically length and breadth, these two parameters, and whenever I am calling this constructor, by that time, so here what we did, we have not defined any value, but after creating an object, we have defined all these values. So let me comment this code, and now let me call that class. So parameterized constructor, param is equal to new parameterized constructor. If I'm not defining anything, so it is forcing me to add basically two parameter, length and breadth. So here I need to pass, for example, 2 and 10 I'm passing, and then simply, and this class has a one more method which is a calculate the area. So if I call this method, so for example, sysout param dot calculate the area. So basically what it does, I have passed the length and breadth, and now I'm calling this method. So calculate method basically will get these two parameter, and it will multiply these two data, and it returns me the data. So if I run this, so I'll get output 2 into 10, which is a 20. So this is how we need to use a parameterized constructor. So this is a use of basically a parameterized constructor. Here we can pass multiple values, like if we have 2 value, 5 value, 10 value, whatever value you wanted to pass, we can do that. Even it doesn't matter. For example, it is not like that we need to pass only string value or integer value. We can have any value. So for example, if I'm again going to this, and instead of one more value, I have, for example, string name, then I can pass the name. Or if I have a list of a data, for example, list of a string, then I can pass those data. So for example, let's say area, list of a area. So I can pass all this value. So for example, here I need to pass all this value as string name, and then list of string and area. And I need to tell Java that this dot name is equal to name, this dot area is equal to area. And now here it is showing a one related problem. So here I need to pass. So Java is forcing me to add multiple values. So if I remove this value, and now I'm trying to create an object, so it is saying now I need to pass a multiple parameter, length, breadth, string name and list. So I need to pass 2, and breadth is a 2 again, name is, let's say, I need to pass in a double quote, so Nishant, and I need to pass a data of a list. So this is how basically parameter constructor works. Now there is a one more concept which is a copy constructor. So for example, a constructor that initialize an object using another object of a same class. So for example, let's say here I have created a one parameterized constructor of a class book, and here I am copying this constructor. So basically I am passing a reference of this constructors. This is called a copy constructor. So for example, here I am defined a one book Java, and I'm passing up I have created an object of this constructor basically, and I am passing here Java basics, and I have created a copy constructor. So this consume this reference. So basically I am passing a book one reference directly here, and it is I can print Java basic here. So this is the purpose of a copy constructor. This video is sponsored by XLQ, which is a no-code automation platform. So first let's see demo of a no-code automation platform, and later we will perform a further more operations, and we'll discuss more.
XLQ is a leader among continuous functional test automation providers and is trusted by Fortune 500 enterprises across industry verticals. XLQ's AI-powered codeless test automation platform has proven to achieve 3 times the productivity and reduce test maintenance by 70%. That translates to over 50% cost savings and enables alignment with your continuous delivery. XLQ brings the discipline, flexibility, and power of a conventional code-based setup into a codeless world. Automation-first, no-code capabilities make it easy for testing teams without programming expertise to develop automation in plain, natural English. The world is undoubtedly moving towards low-code, no-code, and cloud apps that present their unique set of testing challenges. Our game-changing technology, XLQ Live, drives digital assurance across enterprise and vertical industry apps. Give your testing verifiable acceleration. Sign up for a free trial today.
And now there is a one more method which is a constructor overloading. So when constructor overloading will work basically. So let's say there is a one scenario of a student class, and for student class there will be a male candidate as well as a female candidate, and as a teacher my intention is to collect a name and age of all the students, but I don't want to get a age of girls because of a privacy. So for some reason, so what I can do, whenever I need a data of a male student, I can call this constructor and I can force them to provide a name and age data. But whenever there is a use of a girl and I need only name, by that time I can call this constructor. So let's see with an example. So this is a example of a constructor overload, and I have defined here, basically I have defined a two constructor. So one is a string name and another is a name and age, and I'm going to create an object of this constructor here. So let me remove this constructor overload. Overload is equal to new constructor overload. So now it is showing me two option. If I am creating an object of a parameterized constructor, let me remove this extra parameter from this. So we'll get it into. So now if I'm going to the runner class and I'm going to create an object of a parameterized constructor, param is equal to new parameterized constructor. So here it is suggesting me to add length and breadth, both the data, but only it is showing one option. But if I'm going to this constructor, it is asking me to add two data. So basically there are two constructors. So either I can add a name or I can add a name or int. Or for example, let's say I'm creating a default constructor here. If I'm going to that class again, constructor overload, and I'm creating a no-arg constructor. So constructor overload, and I'm simply creating a default constructor. So now Java is happy. Java is not asking me to add anything, but there are two more constructor. I can add a name, for example. Let's say name is a Nishant. For I need basically information of a girl. So I can add simply one parameter, which is a Astha. And now I need information of a guy. So overload 1 is equal to new constructor overload, and by that time I can provide two information. Let's say Nishant, and I need to provide a age, which is a 30. So now this constructor is a AP and I can print all the data. So for example, s out name of female student is overload dot name. In similar way, I can print name and age. Name and age of a male candidate, male student is name and one dot age. Now if I run this, so I'll get all the data. So here you can see, the name of the female student is Asta and name and age of a male student is Nishant and 30. So this how constructor overload will work. Now along with the constructor, you can force, for example, let's say there are some rules to define. For example, let's say student name cannot have a string integer data or a special character, because any of the name cannot have a integer data or a special characters or a white space or a empty. So for example, let's say I'm building the application and I wanted to capture the student data. So let's say someone is leaving that field blank, or someone is entering as a white space like a space or a special character. So I don't want to do that. So for that, what I can do, I can use the encapsulation concept and I can create a getters and setters method, and there are a couple of the ways I can define the rules, and here I can add a validation. So along with a constructor, we can do the encapsulations as well. And for an inheritance concept, for example, let's say constructor are not inherited, but they play a crucial role while initiating a base and derived classes object. And for this, super keywords comes into a picture. So let's see example how it works. So for example, let's say I have created a parent class which is an animal, and I have created one constructor, no-arg constructor, and I'm printing animal is created, and now I have created a child class which extends animal, and then I have created again no-arg constructor, but here I am this super class constructor. So for this, if I need to call any method, then for a same class, then I need to use a this keyword. But if I wanted to call a super class constructor or a parent class constructor, then I need to use a super keyword, so which calls parent class constructor. And whenever I run this code, so what it does first, it the compiler comes here, execution start from the here, and then it will go to the dope this child class constructor, and here I am calling a parent class. So again, my execution will go to this will call a animal method, and first it will print animal is created, and then again it will pointer will go to the child class, and then it will print dog is created. So this is how it works. So this is the way we can use a constructor in a inheritance concept. Now there is a one more concept, which is a constructor chaining in Java. Basically, purpose of a constructor chaining is, let's say you wanted to keep few values predefined. For example, let's say you are gathering a student information, and you need a name, age, grade, mobile number, couple of data you need. But for let's say this is a lower standard school, like a first or second standard, and student will not have a mobile number, but few student will have a mobile number. So what you will do, if student will provide the mobile number, then we will give them an option to enter a mobile number. But if they are not providing a mobile number, then we can store some default data. So for example, here I have created a student class, and here we are passing a student name, integer, age, and grade. And here I have created a multiple constructor. So for example, first one is a default constructor. Here I am passing a 3 predefined data. So let's say someone is not passing any information but still creating a object. So by that time, the data will be unknown, age 0, and grade not assigned. But for example, some student is passing a few data, let's say name and age. So name and age, I'm passing this. So we need to use this keyword. I'm passing this, and they will pass while creating object, but they are not passing a basically grade. So I'm writing as a not assigned, and some student wanted to pass all these three information. So let's see how execution will work. Let's see, I have created a same class name, roll number, and mobile number. Few students are not passing, so I have created argument constructor, and which consume name, roll number, and mobile number. If few students are not passing a mobile number, by that time I'll take a default mobile number, and we have created a two constructor basically. And now I'm going to the runner class, and let me run this. So basically you need to understand how one constructor is calling another constructor. So I'm creating a one object constructor chaining con is equal to new constructor chaining, and here it is showing two options. Either we need to provide a name and roll number, or either we need to provide a name, roll number, and mobile number. So for example, let's say I'm creating a one more default constructor here to make it more clear. So public con chaining this, and I'm passing all this data. So for example, name, let's say I'm passing a Nishant, and then I'm passing a roll number which is a 1, or not assigned. For example, let's say someone is not entering, and then we need to pass a roll number. So roll number is, for example, mobile number is default, which is a 000 000. We are passing a this data. This we need to pass a integer value. Yeah, so we have created a 3 constructor. Now we have a 3 constructor here. This whenever someone will call, they will provide this information when they don't have any information, and when they have a name and roll number but they don't have a mobile number. So let's see in action how it works. So first I'm calling this, and I'm printing constructor dot toString method. So basically it will print all the data, and I'm going here, and now let's run in a debug mode. So we'll see in action how it works. So basically now I'm going into step into. So now the constructor call has came here on line number 60. If I again call this, then it is calling this constructor basically, and it is assigning this data to name, roll number, and mobile number. So we have provided Nishant 0 and 000. So if I do this, so first it will provide a mobile number, and then it will provide a name, and then it will provide a roll number. So basically this constructor is calling a arguments constructor, And then once it provide all the data, so now this point we have all the data. String name is equal to Nishant, roll number is 0 and mobile number is 000. And if I come out, so now it has done their job, and now pointer will go to the runner class again here, and then it will print the data basically. And if I now complete this execution, so now we will get Nishant 000, roll number and mobile number. So now if I'm passing few data, let's say I'm passing a name here, Nishant, I'm passing, let's say this time let me pass different name, undo testers, and I need to pass a roll number which is a 12. So now I'm passing a 2 data, and mobile number I'm not passing. So basically it will call this constructor basically. So let's run directly, pointer will come to line number 20, and then it will call this constructor. So let me run this. Now again let me debug this, and we'll get into a step into. So now execution point has come here because we have provided 2 data, and here you can see the name is a fundu tester and roll number is 12. This 2 data we have provided. And now if I go into step into, so now this come here, this constructor is basically calling this constructor. So basically constructor chaining is happening, and now mobile number, name and roll number, basically using this constructor, it has set all the data, it will come out, and now it will print the data. So now it is printing Pandu tester 12. These 2 data we have provided, and we have not provided the mobile number. So it took from the default constructor which value is a 000, and it has print this data. So this is how constructor chaining works. This is a very interesting topic. You can basically you need to write this code. You will get from the video description. I'll provide this code snippet as well, but you can write your own and run in a debug mode, so you will have a clear idea about how constructor chaining will work. This is the another example of a constructor overloading and inheritance concept I have implemented. So I have created a parent class which is a config, and I'm defining an environment value. Then I have created a database config, and I'm extending from the config class, and here I'm passing 2 more data like a environment and db URL basically, and I'm calling a super class constructor, and this data I'm assigning here, and then I have created a one more child class, and now I have a 3 different parameter, and I'm calling a super class constructor which basically calls this, and this constructor will call this constructor, main class constructor, and I am defining all the data, and then it will print an environment of production database URL and application name. So this how it works. So basically constructor chaining improves the code reuse and reduce the duplication. So for such scenario we need to go with a constructor chaining, and this is used to chain from the same class, and super is being used to chain from the super class. So as I said, we have used the super keyword here. So this calls basically goes to the parent class, and then always ensure the proper sequence to avoid the infinite loop. What happen if you are calling this constructor from this class, you are calling this constructor parent class, and from parent class you are calling a child class constructor, or this can happen in the same class. So in same class you have defined a multiple constructor, and you are from A you are calling a B, and from B you are calling a. So code will go into infinite loop. So make sure you are not getting into this situation, and it is critical concept to understand how objects are initialized and in inheritance hierarchies. Now there is a one more thing is a private constructor. So private is a very non used concept. So for example, let's say let me remove this, and parameterized constructor. So I am going to let me first make a object of this constructor. Param is equal to new parameterized constructor, and we need to provide here 2 arguments, length and breadth, 2 and 4. Let's say I'm defining this, and now here I am calling a getters and setters methods. For example, let's say generate getters and setters. These 2 methods I have created, and these methods are a public method. So if I go this, and if I try to set the data, for example, param dot set breadth is equal to 6. So I need to, I'm overriding, basically first it was a 4, and now I'm overriding to 6, and now I'm trying to calculate the area. So sys out param dot calculate the area. So what it do, 2 into 4 or it will do 2 into 6? Let's see. So basically it is printing at 12, 6 into 2, because first I have passed 4 and then it is I'm passing this data. So to avoid a confusion, what end user will do? This is a ambiguity of a coding. So if someone is building a framework, then they need to take care of this thing. So for what if I'm creating a one private constructor, or what if this constructor is a private? So now if I'm making a constructor as a private, then someone cannot create an object of my class. So if whether I'm in the same package or another if I'm in the same package or another package, no one can use the this class. Now I have this calculate a method as a static method, and which is a public method. So what I can do now, I can use this parameterized constructor and I'll get a calculate area method. So I want my child class, whoever is using the framework, I want them to use directly calculate area method, because this data length and breadth data is coming from somewhere else. So I don't want to again overload that data, because if someone can overload, then we'll get a wrong calculation. To avoid that, I can go with a private constructor. So there are different use of a private constructor. So singleton pattern, you can use something like this. You can create a private constructor, and you can create an instance of that, and then factory methods, again you can use a private constructor, some static methods, and with this combination you can use that constructor concept and utility class, for example math utils, and you can make a public methods, and you can pass some whatever operations you wanted to do. So basically I don't want to user to create an object of this class. By that time I can go with this. And for an immutable class, you can create something like this. And for a prevent subclassing, you can go with a private constructor. So these are basically use of a private constructor. So entire phenomena will change once you make it you can modify the access modifier, like a private to public, public to protected, and default. So if you are understanding any OOPS concept, for example overloading, overriding, constructor, inheritance, if you are changing a access modifier, if you are making methods private, public, static, so fundamental will change. So you need to do the practice around this area, and then you will get to know how it basically works. So I hope this is clear, and now you have a good understanding of a constructor. And if you like this video, and if you need more such content, don't forget to like and share this video with your friends, and let me know in a comment section. And don't forget to subscribe Fundu Tester. See you soon with a new topic. Thank you so much.